Here is a strange fact. The money in your pocket is quietly shrinking, even while the numbers printed on it stay exactly the same. $100 from 1970 buys what costs over $800 today. Almost 90% of its power gone. This slow leak has a name: inflation. And once you see how it works, you will never look at a price tag the same way. Inflation is not one price going up. It is the general rise of almost all prices across an entire economy, year after year. Governments track it with a giant shopping basket, filled with rent, groceries, gasoline, haircuts, and thousands of things ordinary people actually buy. When the total cost of that basket rises, statisticians call it the Consumer Price Index. That number is inflation's official scoreboard. So what pushes prices up? Economists point to three main forces: too much demand, rising costs. First, demand. When everyone rushes to spend at once, they compete for the same goods, and sellers raise prices. Economists call it demand-pull inflation. Too much money chasing too few things. Every auction in the world works exactly the same way. Second, costs. When oil, wheat, or wages get more expensive, producers pass the bill down the chain, straight onto your receipt. That one is cost-push inflation. A war, a drought, a broken supply chain, and suddenly everything that ships or burns energy costs more. Third, expectations. If everyone believes prices will rise, workers demand raises, firms raise prices. That loop is called the wage price spiral. Inflation can feed on pure anticipation, which is why central banks obsess over what we expect. But there is a deeper layer. To understand why money loses value, ask where money actually comes from. For most of history, money was tied to something scarce. Gold, silver, metals you had to dig out of the ground. Then, in August 1971, President Nixon cut the final link between the dollar and gold. Money became pure trust. Since then, every major currency is fiat money. It has value because governments declare it, and because all of us agree to believe it. Fiat money can be created at will. Central banks conjure new reserves with keystrokes, and commercial banks create deposits every time they lend. That flexibility saves economies in a crisis. But if money grows faster than the goods it buys, each unit buys less. Picture an island with 10 coconuts and 10 coins. Double the coins overnight, and soon each coconut simply costs 2 coins. Nothing about the coconuts changed. Only the money did. Print faster than you produce, and prices quietly absorb the difference. History has run this experiment many times. And when the printing truly gets out of hand, the results are terrifying. Germany, 1923. The government printed marks to pay its debts, and prices doubled roughly every 4 days. Bread cost billions of marks. Workers were paid twice a day, racing to spend before prices jumped. People burned banknotes for heat. The paper was worth more as fuel. Lifetime savings vanished in months. Zimbabwe, 2008. Inflation reached billions of percent in a single month. The central bank printed a $100 trillion note. That $100 trillion bill could not buy a bus ticket. Prices were doubling every day, until the currency was simply abandoned. Hyperinflation is rare, but it proves the point in giant letters. Money has no fixed value, only the value we manage to protect. Which raises an awkward question. If printing too much money destroys it, why do central banks aim for any inflation at all? Almost every major central bank targets about 2% inflation per year. Not 0, 2. And that number is entirely deliberate. Reason 1. The measurements run hot. Price indexes overstate inflation, so 2% is closer to zero than it looks. Reason 2. A cushion. Positive inflation keeps interest rates higher in normal times, giving banks room to cut when recessions hit. Reason 3. The alternative is worse. Falling prices sound wonderful until you understand what deflation actually does to an economy. If prices fall, why buy today what is cheaper tomorrow? Consumers wait, sales collapse, wages fall, prices drop further. That doom loop is a deflationary spiral. It deepened the Great Depression, and it froze Japan's economy for 2 decades. So a little inflation is the grease in the machine. It keeps people spending, investing, and building, instead of hoarding cash under mattresses. There is a quieter motive. Governments are the biggest debtors on earth, and inflation shrinks the weight of their debts. Every year of inflation makes old debts easier to repay with cheaper money. Savers pay the price, and borrowers quietly win. Economists call this the inflation tax. Nobody votes on it, nobody files a form, but it moves wealth just the same. Now bring it home. What does 2 or 3% a year actually do to your money? The math is sneakier than it sounds. At 3% inflation, prices double roughly every 24 years. Salary, savings, rent. The ruler keeps shrinking. Cash in a drawer loses about half its purchasing power in a generation. Doing nothing with money is not neutral. It is a slow loss. Even a savings account can quietly lose. If your bank pays 1% while inflation runs 3%, your real return is -2%. That gap between the interest you earn and the inflation you suffer is called the real return. It is the only number that matters. Wages feel it too. If your pay rises 2% while prices rise 5%, you got a pay cut, dressed up as a raise. That is why people feel poorer even when paychecks grow. The numbers climb, but the basket they can buy keeps shrinking. Inflation also hits unevenly. Rent, food, and energy weigh heaviest on people with the least, who spend everything they earn just to live. Meanwhile, owners of assets often ride the wave. Houses, stocks, and businesses tend to float upward with prices, while cash slowly sinks. So the real reason your money is worth less every year is built into the system. Money is designed to lose value, slowly, on purpose. A 2% leak keeps the economy moving, punishes hoarding, comforts debtors, and quietly taxes anyone who stands still. You cannot vote inflation away, but you can refuse to be its easiest victim. And history suggests a few reliable defenses. Defense 1. Keep only what you need in cash and put the rest to work in things that grow faster than prices rise. Defense 2. Think in real terms. Judge every raise, every interest rate, every return only after subtracting inflation from it. Defense 3. Invest in your own skills. The ability to earn more is the one asset inflation has never managed to devalue. And watch the signals. When money supply explodes or supply chains snap, inflation follows. The 70s and 2022 both proved it. None of this means panic. Moderate inflation is normal, managed, and mostly predictable. The real danger is ignoring it for decades. Remember that $100 from 1970? It never disappeared. Its value moved into goods, assets, and other people's pockets. Money is not a thing you keep. It is a current you stand in. Stand still, and it flows past you. Next time a price tag startles you, you will know the machinery: demand, costs, expectations, and the printing press. Your money will keep shrinking. That part is by design. What you do about it, that part has always been up to you.